Well, I'm extremely sensitive about being called that now because I'm in this kind of dangerous position where I everything I've learned and everything I talk about has come through my practice, like through putting my work out into the world. And so, I never considered myself. I don't like the word expert. I don't like the word guru. I don't even really like the creativity angle is weird too. I just think of myself as a writer and an artist. And what's happened is, the career as someone who talks about making art, that kind of happened accidentally for me. Steal Like an Artist started as a talk. I gave it at community college that went viral on my blog, and then that did really well as a book, and then it became clear that, it needed a sequel, and so we put out Show Your Work, and now I'm in this very strange position where I'm getting known more for talking about making things than I am for, actually making things, and so kind of in an uncomfortable spot there, so for me it's time to, part of for me is just about making sure that, I like talking about making stuff, but my heart is in actually making stuff. So right now I'm at a interesting point in my career where, I have to figure out how to balance those two.
Yeah.
I mean, Milton Glaser, he said about Picasso, he said, whenever Picasso learned how to do something, he abandoned it, and so I'm ready to, I'm just ready to take a break. I've been on a book tour for a couple of months now, and I'm ready for whatever comes next, and so, yeah, I'm going to go go back home to Austin and hole up for a couple of months in my studio and see what happens.
That's great.
Well, nothing right now. I don't make anything, which is part of the problem, But this is true of this is true in anyone's career, I mean, you never know what's going to hit. Like, as an artist and as someone who, makes a lot of stuff and puts a lot of stuff out in the world, you don't necessarily know what's going to be popular or what people are going to kind of latch on to or what's going to happen. When I started making my newspaper blackouts, I thought they were a side project. I thought they were just like me monkeying around. But the fact that I posted them to my blog meant that they were out there and that people saw them and that people became familiar with them, And so I guess in a lot of ways my whole career has been kind of accidental. But what I like to do in my studio is, I get about 2 or 3 good hours in the studio on a good day. Basically, I go out in my garage in Austin, and I make a blackout poem, and then I write longhand for a while. Just some free writing, like on a legal pad, basically. And then if I'm working on an essay or if I'm working on a blog post or something, I'll sit down at the computer and start typing. But then I'm also, I draw and collage a lot. Collage is always the thing I go back to whenever I'm stumped.
Right.
Whenever I'm kind of questioning where to go next, I, take all the newspaper articles that I didn't black out and start cutting things up and pasting them together, But yeah, I feel like collage is like the flush button for me. Like, making a collage will, it's like a reset button.
Yeah.
You have to make really sure that the sharing isn't getting in the way of the making. And, there are a lot of, all the things that are so helpful to get your work out there will also swallow up your life in a way. I mean, if you have your notifications set on Instagram or on Twitter or whatever, and you post something out there and then you see in real time how people respond to you, that's not a very natural thing. I mean, artists have never had the kind of data that they have now. You've never been able to post something online and then get metrics right away about how many people are pushing a button that says they like it. None of it's qualitative, because the amount of likes something gets has nothing to do with the actual quality or how good it is, but you have data now. And so part of the artist's job now, if you're, in a sense, if you're online or if you're part of social media, it's almost like data, making sense of data now is like part of your job. Like, what does this mean? Like, this got 300 likes on Instagram. What does that mean? Does it mean that it's good, or does it mean that it's cheap and easy? Does it mean that it's just like a crowd pleaser piece? Like, you really have to make all these judgments now that are really strange. I've had artist friends that say they don't want to get on the internet because they're worried that it'll change the way they work, and the stuff that they make. For me, that's always been a risk I'm willing to take, because I'm not real precious about anything that I do. If anything, having my work out in the world, and I think it's just made it more interesting. But it's I think it's all time management. It's all about saying, I work 7 hours a day and I spend 1 hour a day promoting or sharing. And that's it, and that's what you get. I think as far as what I stick on my refrigerator now, it's like pictures of my kid. But my metaphorical refrigerator, I think these things, the phones, this is like a copy machine, right, in your pocket. And, we're at the Walker here in Minneapolis, and one of my favorite, what's cool about the Walker is they let you take photos. So I'm always like going up to the photo and like cropping out like Edward Hopper's handwriting, I took a picture of the exit sign today, because I always think it's interesting in art museums. One time I was in the Chicago Museum of Art, or the Art Institute in Chicago, and I went over to this piece and I was like, this is really interesting. Look at this machine thing. And I waved over to one of the guards. I said, hey, guard, do you know what this machine is? This is really cool. Like, what piece is this? What sculpture is this? And she says, yeah, that keeps the paintings from melting. It was like the AC system. But that whole idea of like what is art and what
no, exactly.
I'm always looking for things, but I'm looking for I'm just looking for stuff I can steal from, basically. Obituary. When you read obituaries, each one is like a little mini history lesson. Because if someone makes it to like 70 or 80, they basically have 70 to 80 years of context that made up their life. So when you come in contact with an obituary, a lot of times you'll learn about a whole field or a whole, world that you didn't really know about. But that's the point about obituaries, is they're not actually about death, they're about life. And the reason I like to read them is because I get this feeling. It's like, look, this person was here and they did something with their lives to merit an obituary, but now they're gone and they're not here, and I am here, so what am I going to do with my day? And that's why I read them. But there's always all sorts of interesting. One obituary I read was super fascinating. I forget his name, but he was a children's illustrator, and an illustrator who worked with his wife, and they decided at one point that they needed a name for themselves. They needed a name for their team. They couldn't just refer to themselves as one thing anymore. They had to come up with a noun that described them. So I think they called themselves the Thing or It. And that's how they referred to their collaboration. I love that idea, but that's the thing. If you read obituaries, there's always one little, tidbit that you can. And I've been married to my wife for 7, 8 years now, and And we've always joked about that, like the idea of you just becoming like one organism, right? And especially when you collaborate so much. And I love that. Like, you have to have a noun for the for the interaction between two people. You know, that's just like one example.
Yeah. Well, the dark side of that is Brangelina or something. But
Yeah, maybe it's not dark for Brangelina, you know. Maybe they're
True
okay
enough.
with it. I don't know.
Great. Well, Austin Kleon, thank you very much.
Oh, hey, thank you.